Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Batley in Spain is a gathering of typically independent, no-nonsense, proud Yorkshire towns and villages. Our communities have been deeply enhanced by immigration, be it Irish Catholics across the constituency or Muslims from Indian Gujarat or Pakistan, principally from Kashmir. And whilst we celebrate our diversity, the thing that surprises me time and time again as I travel around the constituency is that we are far more united and have far more in common than that which divides us.
4 minutes after 10 is the time. I'm James O'Brien. You're listening to LBC. That, of course, was the murdered Member of Parliament, Jo Cox. Let's remember the 3 Ps this morning. There is what is possible, what is plausible, and what is proven. What is proven thus far is very little. What is possible is almost too terrible to contemplate, and what is plausible is the analysis that somehow the toxicity of political debate in this country has reached a stage now that has seen violence on the streets, that has seen bloodshed on the streets of Britain. And while we do not know anything for certain, other than that she is dead and that her husband, her widowed husband, has spoken of the need to unite against the hate that killed her, I want to try and have a conversation today that everybody can contribute to. I want to try my very, very best to talk with you, not at you or to you, but to talk with you today in a way that makes us all believe that we still belong to the same society. I have been worrying for months, years possibly, that the toxicity of conversation surrounding immigration was reaching a stage where it was impossible to see any way back down again. The casual encouragement to hate, the paid and professional propagators of divisive, corrosive, dishonest portrayals of other people have to lead somewhere. The refugee crisis, the economic crisis, the perfect storm, if you like, of economic and social problems that historically have always left the door open to fascism, to hatred, to demagoguery, has been wide open now in Britain for what feels like forever. So what did she die for? We don't know. We'll never know. Not really, not deep down. If mental illness played a part in the motivation of her killer, then it's even harder to discern a rationale for this sort of thing. I would, just by way of reminder, mention to you that when Lee Rigby was murdered by a paranoid schizophrenic, there wasn't that much attention focused upon his mental health. In an ideal world, it would be equal. In an ideal world, you would talk, regardless of the colour or the creed of a killer, with equal respect and reverence about their possible mental health problems. But we don't live in an ideal world. What sort of world do we live in? What sort of world do we live in? We live in a world where you can comfortably describe your joy at seeing dead children drowning in the sea. You can get paid for it. You can get hired for your successful clickbait count. You can write newspaper columns which casually and calmly practice the sort of othering that I never thought we'd see in this country. You can publish posters under the auspice of an established political party containing words like breaking point and reflecting almost perfectly propaganda about refugees from the Nazi era. I don't know if the man who is suspected to have killed Jo Cox reached his breaking point yesterday, and I don't know if he did what pushed him there. But I know how important it is to have conversations now about hate. Because hate seems to me to be the defining feature of political debate in London today, and in Britain, and, God forbid, in Birstall. The number you need to call me is 0345 6060 973. The point that I'm trying to make is that if you portray other human beings as being inferior, as being subhuman, if you portray Britain as being in some way under siege, you're left with a real difficulty in discerning the difference between perception and reality. Is it even vaguely possible that a man living in Britain today could have been pushed to the brink of murder by political debate and the political situation? I don't care where you come from. I don't care who you vote for. That's the question I've got. Can you conceive of circumstances in which somebody living in Britain today could be pushed to a point where they contemplate this sort of conduct? And I'm afraid to tell you that I can. At 8 minutes after 10, I truly can. If I was to be reading my newspaper every single morning and being told that my very existence was under siege from people I've never met and never seen but keep getting told are coming here in their hordes, if I was to open my newspaper or turn on my radio or my television set to hear that everybody who's coming here is a rapist and they've got their eyes on our women and we've got no chance whatsoever of protecting ourselves, and unless we do this or do that or treat them like this or treat them like that, then we're all doomed, we're all going to hell in a handcart. If I was being told that it's time to reclaim our country every time I got out of bed in the morning, I'd begin to believe it, I think, if I didn't have the knowledge and the insights and the education to know that it is not true.
We want our country back.
We want our country back.
What is it? What do you want back about the country?
Our country.
We want our country back.
We want our country back.
What is it? What do you want back about the country?
Our country.
We want our country back from whom? We want our country back from when? We want our country back how? We want it back from the 21st century, do we? We want it back from a world in which the movement of people and the movement of populations is as commonplace as the movement of products. We want our country back from what? When we could choose the nationality of our next door neighbour? We want our country back. It's 9 minutes after 10. Convince me if you can that political debate in Britain in the last couple of years has not created an environment in which we find it easy to believe or possible to believe that this sort of violence, this sort of terrorism could unfold on our streets. I don't know whether we should mention names. I really don't. I'm doing what I do with you every morning now. I'm just talking and waiting for you to join in. But the mentioning of names is tricky on a day like today. I'm going to wait. I don't think it would be fair to focus specifically on individuals who I believe whip up the kind of hatred that may have contributed or indeed have caused Jo Cox's death. I don't know that we want to necessarily do that. And yet there's another part of me now screaming out that you have to. What is the point of having these conversations? What is the point of having these conversations if we're not allowed to say what we want and express what we fear? Why is it on days like today that people who've spent the last decade banging on about freedom of speech and being able to speak your mind without being shot down in flames suddenly think everybody else who disagrees with them should shut up and go away? What do we learn from this death, if, as is being reported, it appears to have been committed, at least in part, for political reasons? How dare you politicise the death of a politician who has been killed for what appear to be political reasons, say some people. It's a mental health issue, this, not an immigration issue, not a political issue. Well, I would come with you on that journey if you'd tried to go down the same road when Lee Rigby was murdered by a paranoid schizophrenic. When does it become terrorism? 03456060973. I don't know, and I don't have a great deal to say, to be honest with you, except how sad I am, how dismayed I am, and how genuinely, truly, sincerely worried I am that this won't be the end. How else is it supposed to go, do you think, my friends? How else is it supposed to go when you are being told that the reason why your kid's not doing well in school is because of their little Polish friend being there? How else is it supposed to go when we're being told every single day that people fleeing the worst war zone the world has seen in a generation all want to come here to rape our daughters? How else is it supposed to end if we are being told every single minute of every single hour of every single day by corners of the British media that we must be frightened and we must be scared and we must be cross and cowed and fight back against these people that we've never met but who mean us harm? the people that clean our offices, the people that serve our drinks, the people that treat our children when they go to hospital, the people who teach our children when they go to school, the people who sweep our streets, the people who do our accounts, the people who cook our food, the people who grow our food, the people who pick our food. Fear them all. They all mean you harm. And the ones that are fleeing Syria, the ones that are fleeing war, they're the worst of all. Do you know what they are? They are rape refugees. Someone coined that word once, and it went around the world like wildfire. So if we have today a man of mental frailty reaching his breaking point, what do you think pushed him there? Was it the possibility that Birstall was supposed last November to be welcoming 2 families of Syrian refugees into its community, 2 families of vetted Syrian refugees? Could that be what pushed a man to breaking point? Or could it be the people whispering daily in his ear that we're under siege, we're under attack, they mean us harm, they're not like you and me, they're different, you wouldn't want to live next door to one, would you? Oh no, they're different and they mean you harm, and they want to rape your daughters and they want to rape your wives, and they're coming here to take your job. Where would it lead? If you were mentally fragile and you were susceptible and you were getting your information from people growing fat and rich and famous on propagating hate, where would it lead? Where else can it lead? What does success look like for people who've swallowed the Kool-Aid? What does the end of this process look like? Donald Trump talks about building a wall. Is that how it looks? Is that what success looks like? Because you know what a wall does. A wall keeps you in. It doesn't just keep people out. A wall is a prison. Is that what success is? Is that how we can stop this nonsense now? Is that how we stop this inexorable slide into hatred and social division by actually building social divides, as Donald Trump has suggested and as some people in this country have admired and applauded? I don't know. But that seems to me to be one of 2 possible conclusions. Either we start building bridges and we start saying to the people pouring bile into our ears, pouring poison into our minds every single day, enough now, go away, crawl back under the rock you came out from, and let us recognise humanity. Let us recognise what we have in common with each other. Let us listen to those words from Jo Cox about the multiplicity of backgrounds from which her constituents came and the common cause that they shared. Let us stop, perhaps, calling for walls to be built and build instead some bridges. Maybe. Or maybe it's already too late. Maybe we've already gone so far down this road of othering. I don't think even 3 years ago some of the stuff I've read in newspapers recently would have been allowed. I really don't. Yesterday, one front page had a picture of some families crawling out of the back of a van. They'd arrived here illegally, and that apparently is evidence of how porous our borders are and how we've lost control, because people have to hide in the back of a van to get here illegally. It means we're not controlling our borders. And then, according to the newspaper, when you listen to what they said when they were asked where they came from, they answered Europe. I've listened to the tape. I think they said Iraq. Makes a lot more sense. What the hell does Europe mean, anyway, in the context of where did you come from? You don't get to claim asylum if you came from it. Why would anyone even say Europe, crawling out of the back of a van with a baby in their arm, having come here probably from a war zone? I don't know. I've got a theory on why someone might want you to think they said Europe. I've got a theory about why someone might want you to think that the country is reaching a breaking point. I've got a theory about why some people want to be free to choose and judge and discriminate according to gender or faith or ethnicity. But I can't prove that I'm right. I can't prove that I'm right. All I can ask you is this. Is there any earthly way we can look at the toxic political landscape of the last 2 years and not conclude it is at least possible, at most plausible, that it could play a part in the motivation or the pushing of a man with a gun to his breaking point? Phone lines are open. It's 10:17.